Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled people story. My family has owned a farm just outside the city limits for over 50 years now. It's nothing too big, just 40 acres with some crops, chickens, a couple horses, and plenty of open space. I took over running the place from my dad a few years back when he wanted to retire. Farming has always been in my blood, and I love the peace and quiet of country living. Well, it used to be peaceful until a new housing development sprang up right across the road from us. I tried to be neighborly when the first families started moving in. I even brought over some fresh eggs as a welcome gift. Most folks were friendly enough, but there was one woman, Karen, who made it clear she had a problem with me from the start. The first time we met, she wrinkled her nose at my dirty farm clothes and asked if I really had to drive my loud, dirty tractors past her house. I politely explained that was how I made my living and getting to my fields required using the road. Karen just huffed and slammed the door in my face. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, figuring she'd just take some time adjusting to living near a working farm. But unfortunately, her rude entitled behavior only got worse. I'd find her wandering around my property complaining about the smell from the compost pile or accusing my free-range chickens of ruining her flower beds. No matter how many times I told her to stay off my land, she kept sneaking back over and causing trouble. The final straw came a few weekends ago when Karen hosted a huge outdoor party at her place that went late into the night. Now I'm usually in bed by 9 p.m., so I didn't appreciate the loud music blaring across the field while I was trying to sleep. Around midnight, I finally had enough and called her house to ask them to turn down the music. The phone rang and rang with no answer, so I walked over and knocked on her door. Karen answered, already reeking of booze and slurring her words. "What do you want, farmer boy?" she sneered. As politely as I could, I asked if they could lower the music since it was so late and I had to be up at dawn. "It's a free country. I'll play my music as loud as I want. If you don't like it, too bad," Karen yelled and slammed the door again. I tried to be the bigger person and just went back home and put on headphones to block out the noise. But I should have known crazy Karen wasn't going to let me off that easy. The next morning I came outside to find my precious green John Deere tractor missing from the barn. I immediately suspected foul play and my guts sank, realizing Karen was probably behind this. I rushed over to her house ready to demand the return of my stolen tractor, but pulled up short when I saw the horror she had unleashed in my backyard. There were huge, deep furrows torn all through my yard and garden beds. The once green grass was now ripped to shreds by what was clearly my tractor tires. Karen stood there watching me with a smug grin, not even bothering to deny what she'd done. "I told you I'd play my music as loud as I want. Maybe this will teach you to stop complaining and ruining my party," she shouted. I saw red and wanted to wring her scrawny neck right then and there, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything and would only get me in trouble. So as furious as I was, I dialed cop and explained what happened. The cops arrived pretty quick and I showed them the vandalism to my yard and also reported my stolen tractor. Karen tried to defend herself by saying I had threatened her the night before and she was just getting even. Thankfully, the cops didn't fall for her lies once they saw the damage and heard my calmly stated side of the story. They arrested Karen right there on charges of trespassing, vandalism, and theft. At the station, she confessed to sneaking onto my property late last night, hot-wiring my tractor and going on a plowing rampage in revenge for me complaining about her party. Her smug attitude even disappeared when she realized the serious legal trouble she was in. Karen got hit with a bunch of fines and even jail time for destruction of property plus the theft. She also had to pay for repairs to my backyard and ruined garden. The cops found my poor tractor abandoned several miles away with the engine blown. I eventually got it fixed up, but it wasn't cheap between parts and labor. I kindly offered to drop the charges if Karen agreed to pay for the tractor repairs and apologized sincerely. But she refused, saying she did nothing wrong. Her denial only made the judge throw the book at her even harder in the end. With Karen behind bars for a while, the neighborhood has been downright peaceful. Turns out others nearby had also been dealing with her crazy antics and were glad I finally got the law involved. I just wish I'd called the police sooner back when she first started trespassing and harassing me. It would have saved me a ton of time, money, and frustration if Karen had been shut down before she escalated to destroying my property. But in the end, justice was served. She's learned the hard way that she can't go around vandalizing and stealing from innocent folks just because she feels entitled to get her way. I'm still keeping an eagle eye out in case she tries to retaliate once she's out of jail, but for now, I'm going to enjoy the tranquility of life on my little farm again. The next one is a pro-revenge story. My neighbor started parking on the street behind my car, literally inches away for no apparent reason. My neighbor has a driveway, empty, and also lives 2 houses down the street. I don't have a driveway, so on-street parking is a must for me. So after a few weeks, I asked if it was necessary to park so close when there were literally no cars on the street for over a quarter of a mile. He said, "No, but there's no law against it," with a big grin on his face. A few weeks passed by and my car got hit because someone thought there was enough room to clear as his truck blocked the view of my car entirely. I saw this happen, but unfortunately couldn't get a model or license plate number. I found my neighbor's email address, because I really didn't feel like talking to him, and asked him again if he could just park further down the road, closer to his house. He replied, "Nope, suck on it." Okay, I had lived here for quite a long time and never had any issues with him or any other neighbor. I keep to myself, never make noise, don't have any noisy pets or parties, etc. His truck has his business name on it. I googled it and found out it's his own business. Lots of Yelp reviews, BBB rating, etc. All these links point to his website. I went to check his website, but it didn't load up. I headed over to Whois and saw that the domain wasn't registered. I snagged it. Before I thought about what to do with it, I googled the owner's name and found out he's been convicted of murdering a child about 20 years ago. I found a handful of links that detail his story rather explicitly. I copied and pasted all those links into an email to him, using a throwaway account so he couldn't reply to me as I deleted it afterward. I said something like, "Well, if you want to be a jerk for no reason, I just bought your business domain. Here are all the links I plan on posting on it. I don't have to list your business name because all of your business listings across the internet have this URL pointing to it. Keep parking like a jerk. Yes, it's legal, but you are willfully doing this just to annoy me. I legally bought your domain and can legally link these articles. Park behind me again, and I'll launch it." Within an hour, his truck was moved into his driveway. He asked me for the domain, and I told him, "When either you move or I move, I'll hand it over. Until then, it'll remain offline." The next one is a petty revenge story. I've given up and am embracing the obnoxiousness of my name in memes, but declaring myself to be a little K-Karen and an entirely different species. I was in my hometown this weekend and drove past the branch library where I misspent so much of my youth. It reminded me of this story. I very rarely had to go downtown to the mothership library. 5 stories, almost a city block. But that day I was in the main reading room doing research. As usual, the room had quite a few homeless people, all mostly keeping to themselves and enjoying the air conditioning. It was brutally hot that day. There were several rows of rectangular tables, each with 6 chairs, giving folks plenty of room to spread out. Suddenly, I hear this plop. An armload of magazines slams down on the table across from me. Karen sits down and only then asks if she can share the table because she doesn't want to sit near homeless people. I don't recall the exact words, but she was not trying to be tactful at all, nor quiet. Several occupied tables were in earshot. She sits there for about 25 minutes and never shuts up. She has the magazines, cooking magazines, strewn all over the table. She wants to talk about recipes. She wants to profess her love for some grocery store she used to visit back home that makes Publix look like crap. She wants to talk about what a nasty city this is, and she really wants to talk about how the library is being ruined by vagrants and bums, and they should not be allowed inside. I was doing my best to just and instead of actually answering her, hoping she would STFU. My simmering dislike of her went up to boiling hatred when she started tearing recipes out of the magazines. I finally looked her right in the eye and told her to stop it. She started to sputter, and I said, "Geez, just take pictures with your phone." She vibrates in place for about 20 seconds, and then decides my behavior is too offensive to endure, so she slams her stuff together, leaving the half-destroyed magazines in a messy pile, and does the flounce and bounce. As she's walking away, I see a notebook she left on the table. I think about it for a minute, then pick it up, run after her, and give it to her. Very saccharine sweet. "You forgot this?" And she had to pretend to be thankful. Pretty lame, right? But wait, What you need to know about this library was that parking was in a giant garage about a block and a half away, and library patrons could park there for 3 hours free with a validation slip from the library. You handed them your ticket at the reference desk and they'd staple the slip to it. No slip. You paid the hourly rate indicated by your time punch ticket. It was like $2.50 an hour. No ticket, you paid the daily rate, which at that time was about $20. When I picked Karen's notebook up, I could see the little ticket sticking out of the top with the slip stapled to it. When I handed Karen her notebook, well, golly gosh, where did that ticket go? Shame. Hope you had a $20 bill in that giant purse, Karen. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I'm training to be a manager at your friendly neighborhood Mendy's. I usually work the drive-thru, but here I am, being asked to process a refund at the lobby register because I know how. A southern lady, imagine if Alex Guarnaschelli played pickleball or something, ordered 4 baggy bags, her exact words, with an extra frosty all chocolate. All right, cool. We prepared all her food, and at the last moment she decided, you know what, I don't want those. They don't look chocolatey enough, not at all. All right, fine. We complied, and instead of making the lady give me the credit card to refund the full meal, then ringing her up for the meal without the frosties, which would result in about a 50-cent upcharge each, I simply rang up 4 medium frosties as a direct refund. This amounted to her getting back $12.99. She immediately complained and shouted, "Hey, Azat! That's not the right amount of frosties. Enter the right amount of freaking frosties and don't shortchange me." This was roughly translated because it was a heated moment, but she did mention something about me being cheap. Also, I've never been called an Ajat before. I'm honored. I was about to explain that she was getting a refund worth half her meal, but the term Ajat didn't sit right with me, so I made the adjustment. You know what? You're right. You had 5 frosties, the upcharges for the meals, and then the extra one, right? Okay, let me fix that. I took a long time to figure out how to process the refund, which required me to take her card multiple times and then show her that I refunded her for 1 full-price Frosty at $2.13 and 4 more Frosties at 50 cents each, totaling $4.13 back to her. Oh, that can't be right, I assured her just how wrong she was, showing her the receipts as she realized what a mistake she had made, all while her food just kept getting as cold as my Frosty-flavored heart. The next one is an entitled people story. The other day, I was at a showroom for Lazy Boy recliners. I was replacing the 13-plus-year-old one to get one that would allow me to sleep in a way that didn't trigger my sleep apnea. There was one staff member on duty, HL, and she was very patient with me as I made my choice, given I had no idea what I was looking for or how much I wanted to spend. Once the decision was made, we were making our way to the other side of the showroom to her desk so paperwork could be done. On our way, we both saw an elderly gent, GEG, standing in the middle of the showroom, obviously waiting for someone to serve him. It turns out he didn't appreciate the fact that HL and I were engaged in small talk while she was processing the transaction. During the course of the decision-making process, we had begun speaking of my pets, a dog and a cat. As we were heading to the desk, I was regaling HL with tales of how my dog, a lovely bull Arab red heeler beagle mix, so hated his people leaving that he used to grab my 2 sons' wrists in his mouth when he saw them putting on their shoes, obviously in the hope of preventing them from leaving. HL needed to return to the recliner I had chosen to confirm its price, and had remarked about how smart some animals can be. I began telling her about my cat's ability to recognize abstract concepts when GEG spoke up. This is not a verbatim recollection. GEG, is this a furniture store or a pet store? First dog stories and now cat? HL and I looked at each other totally flummoxed, but Gigi apparently felt he had not gotten his point across. GEG, I came in here with a complaint about my recliner, but all you're talking about is animals. I left HL to continue her journey to confirm the price while politely but firmly addressing GEG. Me, trying to be a peacemaker. I'm sorry if it looked like we were just talking, but I can assure you HL was working the whole time. GEG. Well, I came in here because I need something done under warranty, and she's indicating HL, just ignoring me. HL, on her way back to her desk. I'm sorry, but I'm the only person on staff today, but if you need something done under warranty, you need to send in an email to start the process. HL went back to her desk and continued the paperwork for my purchase, while I stayed near GEG in case he decided to get physical. I work in security and am used to dealing with the disgruntled. That idea was laughable in itself, given he was about 15 centimeters shorter than I, about half my weight, and I'm guessing somewhere in his 70s. He seemed to realize he wasn't going to get the attention he wanted, and glared at me while telling me his main complaint. JG, you know what my main problem is with her? If she had just looked at me and told me she would be with me soon, just to acknowledge that I was here, that would have been okay. Gigi then turned and slowly shuffled out of the showroom. HL was finishing my paperwork and explained to me, when I'm with a customer, I don't think it's right to make them feel my attention to them is divided, which is why I didn't speak to him. A perfectly valid reason, I thought, and we completed everything that needed doing. Gigi had made his way back into the shop as I was leaving. Knowing he was going to be giving HL some lip for what he perceived as poor customer service, and knowing he was unlikely to like what he was about to be told, I felt it necessary to clue him into the company's warranty process. Me. Excuse me, sir, just so you know I've had to make some warranty claims for my own recliner. So when HL tells you that is what you need to do to begin the process, she isn't saying it to fob you off, but because it genuinely needs to be done if you want the repairs. Jeg initially mumbled something about nothing I had to say being relevant, but by the end of my spiel conceded, you should be working here, an idea HL seemed to be on board with, asking if I wanted a job. I had to turn her down as I lived too far away, but it was nice to know I had options. I left after that, hoping G-Egg would be nice to HL. Turns out he was, as HL called me while I was driving home to tell me GEG had apologized for his behavior by the time she had finished helping him, which she put down to my intervention. It's a pity I live so far from the showroom. I may have enjoyed working there. The next one is an entitled parent story. In a couple of weeks, I'll be having an ankle fusion. I've been experiencing extreme pain in my ankle for quite a while, and over the last few years it has progressively worsened. The orthopedic doctor has recommended an ankle fusion. The plan is for me to stay a few nights in the hospital and about 2 weeks at a physical rehabilitation facility to help me learn how to use a walker. I have a bleeding disorder which necessitates some hospitalization, and they've determined that rehabilitation would be beneficial since I live alone. Additionally, they believe a walker is a better choice for me than crutches, though I'll also have a wheelchair coming in. Everyone is hopeful about the procedure. I'm hopeful, my mom is hopeful, my family is hopeful, my friends are hopeful, and my girlfriend is hopeful. The only one who isn't hopeful is my dad. I only told him because I thought it would be better to inform him rather than have him get angrier for keeping the surgery a secret. You see, he's very anti-doctor and has delved deeper into the world of alternative medicine in recent years. During the pandemic, he wanted to sign me up for a pyramid scheme involving pine needle tea to give me COVID immunity and cure my autism. Not too long ago, he sent me a video from an alternative medicine advocate who claimed that eliminating processed sugar and gluten would cure autism. He's been persistent that I'll be a better person for the world if my autism is cured, and that mental illnesses are not real but fabricated by doctors to exploit people for money. It's all a bunch of nonsense. And now he's asserting that ankle fusion will not work. He started rambling about how with limited mobility, I won't be able to exercise and will therefore gain weight and become less desirable to everyone. I do have a weight problem, as well as internalized fat phobia thanks to him. I explained that the doctors planned to provide me with modified shoes to help me walk, but then he insisted that it would break my ankle. I told him about the physical therapy I'll have to learn to use a walker on one foot while being non-weight-bearing, and after healing more physical therapy to help me walk normally again. I also mentioned that I'll have a wheelchair to assist me when needed. He snapped, accusing me of not listening to him, and claiming it's proof that I need family, specifically him, in my life. He demanded that my mom either have me stay with her for the entire recovery process, or that I stay with him for the entire recovery process. I stood my ground and told him that it's not necessary, that we already have a plan, and that I trust these doctors. This infuriated him, and he yelled that if I trust strangers more than family. I firmly explained that's not what I meant, and just because he lacks confidence in the treatment plan doesn't mean he has to be pessimistic about it. Surprisingly, this realization didn't affect me, and he huffed that if I want to try, then fine, but that if something goes wrong, I'm going to regret not taking his help. This may not be as bad as what he's done in the past, but I felt it was worth sharing. I still intend to cut him out of my life, and I'm mentally prepared for a life without him. Nowadays, his words no longer hurt me like they used to. I'm no longer afraid of him. I'm simply annoyed by his existence and irritated that he'll always be an entitled, pathetic piece of crap of a father. The next one is an entitled parent story. So I have an annual pass for Efteling, one of the most famous theme parks in Europe. I pay €200 a year for my annual pass. This pass comes with benefits, such as a 5% discount on souvenirs and food. I happen to be in a souvenir shop where I bought some pins because I collect them. In front of me is a woman with a stroller full of goods, no kid though, like kids' PJs, blankets, plushies, all sorts of merch souvenirs. She just finished paying and she sees me holding my pass. She suddenly looks very happy and says to me, "Oh, you have an annual pass. I was looking for an annual pass holder to befriend so I could get a discount." Her actual words. The cashier just looks at me with a hell no face. She turns to the cashier and says, "Can I return all this and buy it again with her discount?" To which he obviously says no. She leaves the shop, somewhat annoyed, and I go and pay for my pins. I chatted with the cashier for a bit and he sighed and said, "The audacity of some people." Even if I had met her before and she asked for a discount, I would have definitely said no. I pay for my annual pass with my own money. If she wants a discount, she should get her own pass. The only people who can benefit from my discount are my friends, family, and me. Not some random lady who buys a ton of souvenirs and feels entitled to other people's discounts. Later on, I walked out of the shop and heard her talking to her friend/sister, I don't know, about how she could have gotten a 10% discount if people were nice to her. Lady, it's only 5%, and I'd be surprised if she actually found somebody to give her the discount with that attitude. What's your take on this? It's shop policy, of course. But what would you do if someone asked for a discount like that? Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.